Kia ora and a warm welcome to the annual general meeting of ME Support. For a bit of context, we actually held our annual general meeting yesterday. We ran into a few issues with video stream. So today's presentation, up until when Dr. Carl Morton talks, is a re-recording of yesterday's annual general meeting. I'm going to try my very best to stick to the same script as yesterday and capture a meeting as it was yesterday. And I think at this point, basically in the presentation, we declared a meeting open as a quorum was present. So folks, just a little bit of background. My name is Patrick. I'm the president of a local charity called ME Support. The vision of our charity is for everybody affected by ME/CFS, as well as long COVID, to live their best possible lives. And we do work in a community to support that vision. Um, as a charity, and more specifically as an incorporated society, one of our requirements is to hold an annual general meeting of our members each year and conduct some certain official business. So we have to vote for re-election of directors and adopting minutes and things like that. That will be the third item on our agenda today, and we're going to try and keep it to about 10 minutes. But given that we're in front of our members, we'd love to provide an update on what it is we've actually been doing in the community to make their lives better and to support people living with ME/CFS and long COVID. And that'll be a first part of our presentation today. First 20 minutes is going to be an update on our charity ME Support. That'll be then followed by the main event, which is Dr. Cal Morton. I am absolutely delighted to have Dr. Cal Morton back for a second time to share his expertise and talk to people living with ME/CFS and long COVID about his exciting research and some of the things they could do to improve their lives. And with that said, I think we should get underway. Let's kick off with an update from our charity ME Support. This is our 10th annual general meeting, and it marks the 10-year anniversary of our charity. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity to talk about how we started, where we've come, and where we've got to today as an organization. I'd like to begin with a personal story. 12 to 13 years ago, I developed ME/CFS. I was working in a dream job down in Wellington. I was doing an 80-hour week. I caught a virus at the time. I foolishly decided to press through, and I remember standing in a lunchroom at work and feeling very dizzy and watching it spin round, and I collapsed. I had a very high heart rate. I thought I was having a heart attack. My colleagues called an ambulance, shipped me off to hospital, and the doctor basically said, "Look, you have supraventricular tachycardia syndrome. It's harmless. It happens to some people, and I'm happy to discharge you." But since that day, my life's never been quite the same. I've always been quite unwell, and in those days, 10, 12 years ago, I was profoundly unwell. I would lie in bed after this event for months at a time because with the curtains drawn, I couldn't tolerate any lights. I couldn't tolerate any sound. Every time I sat up or stood up, I would just be hit with this nausea. It's just giant wave of nausea would come over me. I'd feel weak, shaky. I'd start trembling. My heart would feel like it's pounding out of my chest. I used to sleep only 2 to 3 hours after that, after being unwell, and I just the most crushing brain fog. I could barely string a sentence together at many times. Um, so in the depths of my illness, I was always nagged by this one question. I thought, well, here I am, I'm profoundly unwell, but I have a loving family who care for me. When I got sick, I moved back home and took care of my parents. They believed in my illness, they validated it. My mother even quit her full-time job so she could work part-time and take care of me. Um, and also, having worked a few years in a professional role in investment banking down in Wellington, I had a few years of bonuses sitting in my bank account, so I never had to worry about my next meal, about paying any rent, affording a doctor's visit, etc. So I always had this troubling thought. I thought, there must be other people out there who are as unwell as me. But how the heck do they cope if they don't have a family who's supporting them to make their every meal, to, take them to doctor's visits? And how the heck do they cope if they don't have any money in the bank account? How do they afford expensive medical care? How do they go deal with their WINS case manager when they can't even get out of bed? And I never really had a good answer to this question. I still struggle to understand how people get through it today. So what I thought is, well, if I ever get a little bit better, I'm going to do something to give back to a community, and more specifically, those people who don't have support and a family around them. And it's one of my motivations for being involved with this charity. Fast forward a clock, well, about 2 to 3 years to 10 years ago, and a man named John Keller, he moves from Tauranga to Auckland. And John just happened to be the former manager of a very similar charity to us, a charity which is now called Complex Chronic CCIS, Complex Chronic Illness Support. Sorry, I almost got my acronym mixed up there. Um, John, I like to think when he got to Auckland, he was a bit shocked at the state of things. I imagine every other major city in New Zealand had its own dedicated charity helping people with ME/CFS and their own dedicated support worker or field worker helping those people. So if you lived in Waikato, if you lived in Tauranga, if you lived in Wellington, Christchurch, Dunedin, it was all a local charity. But in our country's biggest city, Auckland, home to 1/3 of our population, there was nothing, and there was just no support for these people. So what John does is he brings together the heads of three local support groups: North Shore, East/South Auckland, and Waitakere. And he forms a board and an organisation called ME Auckland, which used to be our name. And our charity is basically born, and the rest is history. Um, I wasn't around at this time. I was still very unwell and largely bedbound. But from what I hear, it was challenging to get a new organisation off the ground. Um, an analogy which I'm sometimes hear is that it takes a rocket ship 98% of its fuel just to get out of Earth's atmosphere, and with that remaining 2% of fuel, it can travel billions, trillions of miles through space. It's crazy speeds, and I think it's the same for starting a new organization, and in particular a charity. 98% of your energy and effort is expended just trying to get it off the ground. There is so much to do in the early stages, and it's very hard for people with ME. You form a charity and a volunteer base of ME, and people who are largely sick and bedbound and suffering from post-exertional malaise, getting a thing off the ground. So first 5 years, they had a governance board, the charity did, but weren't providing any direct services in the community. By this time, I was a little bit better, so I started with the organization as a volunteer, helping out where I could, fundraising, building websites, and I worked my way onto the boards. And since then, I've been really blessed to have a great team around me of people that have done everything that was needed to get this little rocket ship off into the atmosphere. We wrote contracts for employees, we developed policies and procedures, we set a vision statement, we raised funds, we hired, we trained, inducted, we did everything we needed to get it to the shape that it is in today. So where are we today? Today, ME Support has over 1,000 members. We help over 350 with individualized tailored support each year, and we have an online national support community which has 1,400 plus members. And here is our team. The folk you see on the left are our paid staff. At the heart of the team, we have Natalie and Michelle. We have our new manager, Ness, and our new client support coordinator, Jane. We have our fundraisers and Janet, who provides professional supervision to our support workers. On the right-hand side, we have a governance board. There's people that meet every couple of months just to make sure the charity's on the right track, set the strategic direction of the charity, make sure it's acting in accordance with compliance, and make sure that it's carrying out its strategic plan and growing and doing all the things that we've set out to do. We also have a ton of amazing volunteers who, unfortunately, I can't provide a photo for each of on a slide, but they are there and are absolutely the lifeblood of our organization. At this point, you may be wondering, what is it that our charity actually does? And we have all sorts of ways to describe our services, but what I find is more helpful often is talking in terms of some examples of things we've done in the last 10 years, and I've got a few with me today. One thing we've done is we've worked with another charity called Rest Assured Respite Trust, who provides soups to people with ME/CFS and long COVID. And this way we can make sure that our members are living off nutritious foods, they don't have to spend their precious energy dollars cooking, and ultimately, they don't have to go hungry and malnourished. We see a lot of people living off things like baked beans because they can't afford more sustenance. They don't have the time to cook anything, and these soups are fantastic. Provide a nice balanced diet, and we give them to people who would otherwise go quite hungry. And we access home help services for our members. So, as you know, you only have a few spoons to use when you have this illness in a day. And a lot of our members, before accessing home help, they spend it on doing dishes and cooking meals and vacuuming, showering, basic chores like that. So we advocate for them to actually get those chores provided from government agencies so they can spend their precious energy spoons doing things that either add value to their life or help with their recovery. We advocate for all sorts of entitlements, working income, social housing. Heck, one of the highlights over the last few years is we actually got a brand new apartment for a lady with ME/CFS, wheelchair access, fully insulated and everything. And prior to that, she was being moving around Kayangaroa houses. Some were quite moldy, damp, just were completely unsuitable. And yeah, we managed to get her a brand new house to live in so she could, her health could improve and she could be close to people around her. Um, we run support groups to alleviate isolation and surround people with others who are experiencing the same journey, provide peer support and uplifting to other people with illness. And we provide a whole bunch more things, and I won't go into too many details today, but the big one for me is that Emmy Support, our charity, it's a voice at the end of a phone. In a world where people don't understand ME/CFS and long COVID, this is a place, this is a number you can dial where you can have someone on the other end of a phone who validates your journey, believes you, understands the illness, gets how hard it is able to provide the right advice, connect you with the right people. One of my fellow directors described our charity as a refuge for people with ME/CFS and long COVID in a world where these illnesses aren't particularly understood. We're the guys that you can give a call and can be there as an empathetic and listening ear and understand what you're going through. And I thought that was a really beautiful and elegant way to describe the great work that our staff do. So this year, let's talk about a few highlights. That was the last 10 years. Let's talk about this year in particular. Number one, the long COVID video series. Um, we received funding from Te Whatu Ora to produce the first ever educational video series on long COVID. So this guides people with long COVID through the journey of illness, gives them the tools that they need to feel a bit better, and also has independent experts and other people in the community. It sort of shows their experiences as well. Um, I think when we look back in a few years on our charity, we're going to see this as a turning point. It was our first time we've ever received government funding, and it was quite a significant amount. We even flew a film production company from Wellington to Auckland to do a filming of this video. It was a lot of things, you know, we got significant media coverage, we worked with a lot of international experts. It was really a turning point for our charity, and we have to be very grateful to Kate Studer, our Vice President, for spearheading this effort and all the hours that she put into making the video series a success. Likewise, very thankful to Kate for a relaunch of our website. In our digital age, the website is the face of our organization. It's where people see us first, how they know what services we provide and how we can help them. And I think the new website, which we produced in the last 12 months, is great at clearly conveying what our organization does in a professional way and helping people affected by ME/CFS navigate to where they need to be. It's also a great resource for our stakeholders, funders, volunteers, all sorts of people, media, and it presents a really credible image for our charity. Big thanks to Saul too for working on a branding behind the website and our new logo and things like that. Dawn as well. I think they look fantastic. Support groups. We've always run a few support groups across Auckland, but we're missing a few regions. Natalie and Maddie and Michelle have done such a tremendous job of making those groups more accessible this year, expanding our groups to different places, but also having itinerary of guest speakers. And we've got some fantastic speakers in this year, people who are real experts in the field who can help give people with ME/CFS and long COVID the tools they need to manage your illness. And they've done a fantastic job of that. Matt even started a young persons group for the Discord platform, which I understand has been a real success. And finally, fundraising. For a number of years, our charity was stuck a little bit in second gear, raising about $30,000 to $40,000 a year. And although we do rely on volunteers to an extent, that still isn't very much to run a charity of a scale that we need to be. One day we recruited a couple of new fundraisers, Robbie and James, and within the first 12 months, we doubled the funding to $86,000. And the next 12 months and last financial year, we doubled it again to $154,000. So we're raising about 4 times as much as we used to. And the current financial year, even though only 4 months have elapsed out of 12, we've already raised 102K. So I think we're going to be in a great position for this year as well. Yeah, so our little charity was blessed today that we had Robbie and James on board. Robbie used to be the chief fundraiser for Salvation Army, which is a giant organization, exceptionally good at fundraising. So yeah, we were truly gifted to have people of his skills and caliber come join our little charity. This is a formal part of a meeting now. We have to pass a number of resolutions. How it works is I put forward a motion. I ask for somebody to move it, somebody else to second it. And that can be done maybe just unmuting your mic and saying I move or I second. And once it's been seconded, we'll put it to a vote. And to vote, you'll have a little Zoom poll pop up on your screen. You can vote for or against. And we might leave voting open for about, 30 seconds on each resolution, just to provide people enough time to get their vote in. Before we start, we called for proxy votes in accordance with our constitution. We haven't received any, so whatever voting they will carry. So first vote. That the minutes of last year's annual general meeting held the 26th of November 2022 be adopted as a true and correct record of a meeting, and these were circulated with invite. Do I have somebody to move that motion?
Yes, Sol.
Oh, thank you, Sol. Do I have a second?
Yep.
I think it's Kate's voice. So second, Kate. And voting, it should pop up on your screen. You can vote for or against. I love it when the technology is working.
Just make sure you click the submit button and then the box will disappear when you're finished.
I'll give it another 15 seconds. Our next resolution up on screen. There should be enough time, Shannon and Michelle.
Yep.
Motion number 2, that the audited annual report of MECFS Support Auckland for the year ending 30th of June 2023 be received and adopted. Do I have somebody who can put forward that motion?
Yes.
Yes. Done. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, I think it was Kate on a second. Can I get a name of the person who put it forward as well?
It was Anne.
And oh, thank you, Anne. Fantastic. You should have a vote on your screen coming up soon. All in favour and all against. Is the poll coming up, Michelle? Right, here we are.
Yep.
Sorry, everyone. I know this is a boring part of a meeting. I'd rather listen to Dr. Morden for a little while more, but I assure you this is essential. Give it another 15 seconds. And while that's running, our next motion will be to re-elect our board of directors. So one thing we do at the meetings is that we formally call for any nominations for a board. And while we didn't receive a formal nomination, we had one person express interest who agreed to be followed up after a meeting. And all our current directors in re-election. So put forward our first motion. That John Luth be reappointed as Director of ME Support. Yeah, John Luth there. Can I get somebody to make that motion?
Okay.
It's fantastic. And somebody to second.
Yes, Sol.
Cool. Got to be quick. And we're voting. All in favour of John's reappointment as Director of ME Support. Give that 10 seconds. And looks like a motion's carried. That Saul Chambers be reappointed as the Director of ME Support. So somebody to move.
Barbara.
Barbara, thank you, Barbara. Do I have a second?
Michelle.
Yep.
Hey, Michelle. And Katie, you two out. And yeah, and that's Saul Chambers. Sorry. Click the thing. I'm definitely voting yes. Only a couple more. Ooh, I think it should be enough time. Third one, that Kate Studer be reappointed as Vice President of ME.
Yes.
Barb.
Michelle.
Yes, Michelle and Barb. I'll take Barb as a
Yep.
second, and Michelle is moving it.
Yep.
And we'll go to voting.
Definitely.
50 more seconds. And lastly, that I be reappointed president of ME Support. There's someone to move.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, cool. And a second,
Yes, Natalie.
Natalie. Oh, thank you, Natalie. Yeah, we'll go to voting. Can I vote on this one? I don't know.
Go on.
Yeah. Counts it as a Dell vote if we're not allowed to check the constitution. Give that a few more seconds. Wait, face a breath. And it looks like we're done. So let me conclude my section of presentation with a thank you. Firstly, obviously, a thank you to our funders. Without your support, we would not be able to provide the services that we do in the community. And your funding really makes a difference, and we're tremendously grateful. Secondly, our charities partners. We work with a lot of organisations to deliver wraparound support to people with ME, CFS and long COVID. In particular, Rest Assured Respite Trust, I mentioned earlier, for their meals program. And ME, CFS Support Canterbury, they're a fantastic organisation down in the South Island, do a lot of things incredibly well. And we look forward to growing together by sharing best practice and our experience with each other. And professionals as well. We're going to have a talk from Dr. Cal Morton today, but we've also been fortunate to be able to use people like Professor Tate and Dr. Anna Brooks as sounding boards this year. And we've been extremely grateful for their input. Our volunteers. Now, this is an interesting one. Every year we usually do a slide, we list all our volunteers and we thank them individually, but sadly our organization today is at a scale whereby I could be here all day if we were to list our volunteers individually and talk about each of their amazing contributions. But just know, all our volunteers, we're aware of what you do. We would not be in this place without you. You are the absolute lifeblood of our organization, and we're going to reach out to you individually to express our heartfelt thank you for all the amazing work that you do. In a similar vein as our boards, our governance board isn't paid, it's a volunteer position. But I look around our boards and I'm constantly humbled and amazed to see the caliber of people we have. We have someone who used to be the CEO of Cancer Society for 20 years. We have a doctor studying to be a specialist. We have someone who was a global head of health and safety at a giant engineering firm with about 4,000 staff. We have a CPA working for a multinational company. Our little charity, I don't know what we've done, but we've been truly blessed to have such expertise and caliber on our boards. And, I rely every month on the sage advice and wisdom of the people around me and all their experiences. And I'm so grateful to be able to consult people like John, especially Saul, Grace, for their good input and judgment on a lot of matters. Support staff. So we have staff who don't provide frontline services, for example, our professional supervisor, our fundraisers, and we're truly grateful for their input as well. They do a lot of work behind the scenes, don't always get to see the impact that our service has in the community, but their work really does make a difference, and we couldn't be where we are without them. Then we have our frontline staff, and I'm going to include our administrator, Michelle, in this, given that she's been doing a lot more work on events and support groups and things like that. But yeah, you guys, you're a frontline of our organization. It's not always easy seeing people in such a hard way and dealing with, advocating with agencies and getting involved in the lives of our members. But, you guys are really the beating heart of our organization. You provide amazing services and you're well loved by the community. And, I don't know where a lot of people with this illness would be without you guys. Natalie has been, heart of our organization for a number of years now. Michelle is providing absolutely invaluable support. Maddie, our outgoing client support coordinator, did such a fantastic job. And we're really looking forward to seeing what our new manager, Ness, and our new client support coordinator, Jane, do. So those are our thank yous. Sorry, I could talk for hours thanking people, and I hope it does 1% justice to amazing work that's all the people that have supported our organisation have done.